Welcome back to the channel, everybody. How you doing? I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here. Today, we are going to talk about reading faster. So I made this video a while ago, but I feel like I didn't do a very good job at it. Now I have a better setup, and I actually know how to make 4K videos. That was a fault of mine. I just figured this out. So I kind of wanted to remake it and just make a better video of it in general. And I have quite a bit of people ask me, like a lot of people commented on some of my videos and asking me, how do you read faster? Can you make a video for us? And I had some people DM me on Instagram and I was like, yeah, of course I will. I would say I'm a pretty fast reader in general, but I take a lot of time to focus on reading and I read different genres as well. Everything I do that helps me read faster is honestly a sacrifice of other things. When I'm reading books, I choose to read over watching TV or scrolling on my phone or anything like that. So for me, like I go to work at 6:30 in the morning, for example, which is awful. And I get up at 4 in the morning or 3:40 on the dot, 3:40 in the morning to go to the gym. But when I'm not going to the gym, I get up at 4 in the morning to write. And what I do is I write from 4 to 5, or whenever I finish those 5 pages, I get ready for the day and I have all my stuff done. Usually I have about an hour before I even have to leave work, which is from 5 to 6. That hour of time I actually spend reading. I read on my breaks at work. I have 2 15-minute breaks and then I have a half-hour break. So I usually read all those times too. So right there, that's already 2 hours I'm reading a day. And then when I get home from work about 5 o'clock, so from 5 to like 5:30, I'm usually writing or just relaxing, eating dinner, and then I'm editing videos. Usually about 6:30 is when I'm done with everything. And what I do is I just relax and do that, and then I read for the rest of the night, which is another hour on top of that. So I dedicate about 3 hours a day reading already. And then on my weekends, Friday to Sundays, I will read, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours a day sometimes if I'm not doing anything. And that's just what I do. I dedicate more time reading than I do anything else. And there's times where there is days where I'm like, I don't really feel like reading, so I just don't, and that's fine. So that's one thing I do is, I guess the best advice is I dedicate more time into reading than anything else. And that's the thing too. I think there's a huge problem where people want to have like this fixation of trying to read as many books as possible. And the truth of the matter is you should read for enjoyment. That's what I'm doing. I read for enjoyment, and I'm picking reading over watching shows, watching movies, or whatever every day because I love reading more. To me, I just love reading and it's entertainment for me. If you're trying to read for certain goals, which is what I do, I set a goal every year. And I set one for 150 books last year. This year's gonna be 150 as well. I think I love trying to reach those goals, but I'm not trying to read books where I don't remember anything that happens in them, and I'm not trying to race towards it. I'm just trying to read for enjoyment at the end of the day. And that's like one of the biggest factors. Another thing that's a big factor that I think a lot of people might not really think about is the genre you are reading in. If you are strictly reading fantasy books, odds are you're not getting to read over maybe 60 books in a year. Let's be honest here. Fantasy is pretty chunky. Majority of fantasy books are pretty chunky. And to me, as a reader, I don't read strictly fantasy because I don't want to. I believe as a writer, I don't want to read one genre when I want to write multiple genres. It gets stale. And that's my other advice is try reading different genres. One of the biggest genres I read is manga. I read manga. And manga really helps for your read counts too. Like there's a lot of times where you can read 40 volumes of one manga story in like a month, and you already read 40 books in a month. It's kind of in a year already. It's kind of crazy of how Goodreads sets up them. People will say, oh, they're just comic books so they don't count. But to me, it's reading. So who cares? As long as you are reading, that's what I want to see at the end of the day is you are reading a book. Doesn't matter if it's a bunch of pictures and little dialogue in it, or you're reading something with a bunch of words in it. I don't care. As long as you are reading, that's important. But yeah, I would definitely say genre is the biggest thing, because like when I first started reading, the most books I read my first year that I could see on Goodreads, which was 2017, I think I only read like 24 books, but they were all big epic fantasy books, and I was a lot slower at reading at the time. I struggle with dyslexia really bad, so reading helped me a lot where I'm not like, my dyslexia is not nearly as bad as it used to be, and sometimes it flows into my writing too, because sometimes my words get mixed up, and when I'm reading, same exact thing, but because of reading and writing, it has helped so much with being dyslexic. Now I'm reading, like 150 books in a year, and sometimes I'm reading more, and it's because I'm dedicated to reading different genres. Like if you want to read romance, you can read romance novels. And you could read romance in like 3 or 4 days, because for one, usually it's fast paced and most of them are like 300 pages. They're very quick reads. If you want to get a couple of books under your belt that's not fantasy, read romance, read some horror, read some sci-fi. You can read all kinds of different genres of books if you really want to, I guess, read faster. There's nothing wrong with reading strictly fantasy, but majority of the time fantasy books are like 600 to 800 pages, while you can read a horror novel and it's 300 pages, or you can read a mystery thriller that's 400 pages, or a romance novel that's 300 pages, or some manga that's 200 pages for a manga volume. There's a lot of different ways to go about reading faster, but at the end of the day, the more you just keep reading, the faster you will finish books and everything. That's the truth of the matter. If you are not dedicating your time to reading, you will never ever read all the books that you own. And the truth is, you probably never will anyways, because it's an endless TBR. Like, I'm trying to lower my TBR count by reading things I already own, but then I read an author and I'm like, wow, I like this author, and I just buy all their books. Like, for example, I like Clive Barker a lot. I read one book from Clive Barker. I bought all of his other books. I like the one book of Silence of the Lambs. I bought the rest of them. So it's like, it's just how it works. I like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. In general though, I think you're putting more time into reading and less time into your phone or watching TV. You're going to get more of your stuff done. And I mean, everyone always talks about reading's boring, but reading's enjoyable as long as you're reading enjoyable stuff. I read whatever because I enjoy almost anything. That's just how I looked at it when I'm trying to read. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate it. Let me know down below if this helped you guys, of hopefully it helps you guys with wanting to read more, of maybe you guys can go to approach like me. There's a lot of people I know that when they are reading books, they get up maybe a half hour earlier for work just so they can read a little extra, which is perfectly fine. Read at work. On your breaks, read before work, read after work, get a Kindle if a book itself is just too tiring to carry around. I just started using Kindle this year to read ACOTAR, so I just wanted to do it that way because I'm in a point of moving into a new apartment with my girlfriend, so I'm going to be packing up a lot of things in the future, so a Kindle will help buy books that I don't have to buy at the moment. Hopefully those are some good ways, and like I said, switch up the genres. Usually sometimes genre switching will help, and you'll notice like, wow, my pacing is so much faster now. And of course, make sure you guys stay safe, stay humble, and tell someone you love them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay weird.